Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. First of all, thank you so much for hosting me in this group, in this presentation. I'm very honored to present my views about the theme. And let me introduce myself. My name is Marcia. I'm a senior partner at Deloitte, Brazil. And I am a leader of the technology, media, and telecommunications industry. I have been working in all sectors, in the government, in academy, especially in the industry. So the idea here is to share my perspectives in terms of collaboration, international collaboration, especially in the digital economy, okay? So I think I'm waiting a little bit in terms of, because I have prepared some slides to facilitate the presentation. Okay. So so the situation. So when I try to summarize my ideas, I put in that framework of situation, complication, and questions and answers. Okay, to facilitate the ideas and the conclusion. So as the situation, we fully agree with the argument proposed for this debate. That is, the economic literature and experience of industrialized countries show that economic growth is social inclusion, depends on scientific technology development and social environment and are favorable to innovation. Let me give you some facts in terms of some Deloitte studies. And very recently, Deloitte has published an article about AI. Let me take just AI as an example. To link the innovation. And in this research, we have conducted a research in 8 countries to see the stages of AI development and AI as a differentiation for companies and countries. And the results were really interesting in gathering and analyze that data in 8 countries. So you can see, as you can see in the graph, that in the blue line we have that the confidence that AI will transform the company, and in the green line you can see how AI will transform the whole industry. So from this study we see that the companies in these 8 or the data from these 8 countries analyzes that the AI as differentiator is in the window of 3 or 4 years. That is very short. So just to take example for AI, the window for competitive differentiation is closing. And if we see in another data, we can see just for AI that the AI early adopters and the countries that are less concerned about potential AI risks become market dominant. As you can see here, for example, in China, and you can see in this graph, for example, China that are not so much concerned about AI risks and the confidence to, and they think that they are very confident in being able to address those risks. So those are the ones that, for example, here in our research sees the ranking of China, Germany, United Kingdom, and then United States, that are using AI to differentiate, to become the strategic competitive for companies. So this is just an example for one technology that is AI. So the point is, let me put more information. So if we think about the digital economy and the process of globalization, we can see that up to now, what we had in the last decades is that the transference of the knowledge from developed countries to developing countries. And it was the model that we have established in the last 3 or 4 decades. And in this model, emerging countries like Brazil took advantage of the globalization model, which consisted of the transference of technology, labor, and raw material, usage of local raw material, usage of the local labor, and the transference of technology to the emerging countries or developing countries. So, for example, if you see the technology up to now in the traditional industry, we see that those developed countries built factories locally in the emerging countries, And the labor, they used to have leverage the local labor and having a little bit the training in order to switch and to improve the skills, and also the raw material. We used to leverage the local raw material or even importation of parts and components at a low cost. So in those three pillars, in terms of technology, labor, and raw material, we were able to transfer all these to developing countries. So this was the former model of globalization that helped a lot the emerging countries. And in the last 15 years, the emerging countries represent two-thirds of the global GDP growth. The point is, when we switch to the digital economy, the process is a little bit different. Because when we see about technology, we see the connectivity, hardware, cloud. And when we see labor, we are talking about highly specialized labor. And we're talking about raw material, we are talking about data intelligence. And for example, it's very difficult to transfer all the infrastructure, required infrastructure to develop digital economy to the emerging countries. For example, this is what's happening right now in 5G in Brazil, that we really depend on the external investors. Otherwise, even though Brazilian government wants to have the options of 5G, if we do not have the investors, we would not have the 5G in Brazil. And when we are talking about labor, we are talking very specialized labor. For example, in the industry right now, we see that a huge gap, almost 2 million Brazilians, 2 million vacants. There are 2 million vacancies of specialized people in the industry right now in Brazil, almost 2 million. So there is a huge gap in terms of capabilities in countries like Brazil or Latin America to fulfill the demand of the industry. And also, if we are talking about the raw material that is data, and it's very difficult in aggregating intelligence to the data because the platforms are all global platforms. So what we have is in the digital economy, the knowledge transfer is very difficult. It means that developing countries need to invest a lot to be a real player in the digital economy. So these are the two, in terms of one of the barriers of the digital economy, and how countries like Brazil should be integrated in the global chain. And there is another perspective to see the globalization, and what we call here new order of globalization. So we have here less relevance. Today we have less relevance of industry and agricultural assets. So we have in the digital economy more services, digital products, and intellectual property. Second, we have less relevance of the productions and cost arbitrage to attract investments. Up to now, we used to use this excuse to bring the factories to Brazil and Latin America because we have the raw materials and the labor was very inexpensive comparing to the developed countries. But right now, this arbitrage is not anymore a differentiator for a country. So labor quality, technology, and digital infrastructure are the key components to attract investments. And also, there are also changes in the nature of investments from tangible to intangible assets. So intangible assets like R&D, design, experience, innovation systems are the ones that are valued in the digital economy. And in the last, we also see the organization scheme from physical global chains to digital ecosystems. And what we have in the digital economy are the global platforms and global alliances to promote a product, service, or digital experience. So these are the key drivers, the key changes in the digital economy that are even promoting are widening the gap between the developing countries and the developed countries. And if I put a zoom in the digital ecosystem, there is the second complication that I would like to explain, is the integration in the new global chains. So Deloitte has produced a study with the World Economic Forum called the Platforms and Ecosystems Enabling Digital Economy. In essence, what it means, up to now, we used to have a linear hierarchical chain like a supplier, manufacturer, distributor, and client. And the value that was based up to now on materials, materials production. And when we see the digital ecosystem, the value is a little bit different. It's based on the design and experience. But what's happening is the alliances, global alliances, that are creating those platforms and those ecosystems that are raising the barriers for participation of the companies in the emerging companies. So this turns more difficult the competition of our industry with the developed countries. So what happens is this question. So since we have these characteristics of the digital economy that are the challenges in transferring infrastructure and knowledge to emerging countries, the new order of globalization, that it means centralization of infrastructure and knowledge in headquarters, more protectionism, geopolitical issues, and also the global digital ecosystems that are putting higher entry barriers. It means that countries like Brazil and Latin America, we need to hurry up in terms of innovation. So the innovation should also start from emerging countries. Otherwise, we cannot wait for to solve all those three problems. So open innovation with international collaboration is key to speed up the digital economy in emerging countries. So the question is how to foster the open innovation practices in the countries like Brazil and other countries in Latin America. So here I summarize some thoughts in terms of recommendations. So in terms of a recommendation, what I see is we needed to strengthen the local ICTs. We needed to foment startup ecosystems and in their international expansion. And we need also to foment open innovation with international companies. We cannot limit the open innovation in the national companies, otherwise we're not bringing international expertise. And we need also to foment integration on academy, ICTs, and large corporations. Also to integrate to the global value chains and to integrate to the global digital ecosystems. And also we need to foment the cross-border collaborations, like the initiatives like this one. And also we need to promote more and more less regulation, lower taxes for infrastructure to attract investments. And we need also to promote the country brand around technology and innovation. Those are the recommendations that I put here when we analyze the situation that we are facing right now